Hi there, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about planting out our cool weather spring crops. So it's technically still winter here. It's February 28th, but here in North Texas, that counts as spring. Getting all those cool weather crops, the ones that can handle a light freeze, getting those planted out into the garden today. Now I started these plants about 4 weeks ago, and now it's time to get them outside. So the first thing that I'm planting out in the garden are my beets. Now these I'm planting in a different bed from everything else just because of where I have space. I'm planting these guys out into the bed where actually I have most other perennials. I have some fruit trees in this big raised bed. I also have my blackberry and raspberry bushes, but I have an area carved out to plant these beets because their fertilizer needs are different from everything else. Everything else needs a ton of nitrogen. These do not. They need more of a balanced fertilizer with plenty of phosphorus for root growth, so I want to make sure that they get that. And plus, with the space that I have, this is a great spot for them. So let's get started. So this area where I'm planting the beets, it's about a 4 by 6 foot area, so about 24 square feet. And I have about 70 beets that I'm going to plant here. These I'm putting in another bed. But I have about 70 beets that I'm planting out in this area, and that is plenty of space. Beets only need 3 to 4 inches on center, so 3 to 4 inches of space in order to grow. And that means that I'll have more than enough space to plant all of my beets. So to plant my beets, first thing I'm going to do is just kind of space them out and make sure I kind of know where they're all going to go, and then I can plant them really quickly. So I'm going to start first in this area right here. Just going to make sure the soil is nice and loose. I already covered this a few weeks ago with a few inches of compost, and got a hard piece there. A few inches of compost, so the soil is nice and fertile and ready to go. So to get these guys out of the flat, just gonna squeeze them out one at a time. Like I said, 4 weeks. 4 weeks is about as long as you want to keep beets in the tray because you don't want them to start developing the root while they're in these trays. So I don't recommend grabbing it by the stem like that. So here is one of the plants. Nice. Look at those roots. I love how the roots are red too. That's pretty cute. But I have a variety of different. This was a rainbow blend packet that I used, so I'm gonna have all kinds of different color beets. Okay, so I changed positions just a little bit. I'm planting over on this side because I saw a few ants over there. I didn't see a ton, but I saw enough to make me a little worrisome. So I'm gonna plant on this side, and then I'll treat that area with some orange oil to eradicate those ants because I don't want to plant directly into ants. Y'all, ants are my nemesis in the garden. Ants and squash bugs. So now I'm going to space out these plants, get these guys laid out to about how far I think they should be. So this width is about 4 feet, which means I should be able to get 12 going this way. So let's see. So to get these out, just so you understand the technique, I'm just squeezing them from the bottom like this part, squeezing that, which helps to push them out, and then I'm grabbing them, but I'm not grabbing them by the stem, I'm grabbing them by like the soil. And giving that a tug. Okay, this one I'm grabbing by the stem, but not pulling, just holding. I really should have not watered them yesterday. It would be a lot easier to get them out, but they were dry. Oops. And I didn't want to risk them drying out. Okay, so all the beets are out. Now I'm going to space them. Alright, so all of my beets are spaced as they should be. Now I'm going to plant these guys. Okay, so the first set of beets are planted, and now I need to plant the rest, the ones that were in the other tray. I'm going to reposition the camera a little bit so I can get on the other side of the bed and get those guys down too. One other thing I want to make sure that you know about planting beets is that you don't want to plant them deep. You just want to plant them at the same level they are in the container. So I'm just going to plant the soil right up to here, which makes them pretty easy to plant. It makes it pretty quick. All right, so let's get the rest of these guys planted. so beets are planted. Now it's time to plant all the rest of these cool weather spring veggies into the garden. This is actually day 2. I did beets yesterday and I'm doing everything else today because I ran out of daylight time. But, so, before I get these planted, let me show you and remind you what I am planting today. If you want to see how all of this started, I have a video when I started these seeds. It's been just a little bit more than 4 weeks, and that's all it's taken to get them to a point where they'll be safe out here. They can handle a light frost, but when they just emerge, they really can't. So that's part of the reason for starting them indoors. And we're at the point in the, I guess it's technically winter, but we're at the point in that spring where it's starting to warm up. We're unlikely to get a really deep freeze. And if we do, since all of these are gonna be in one bed and then my beets are over in another bed, I could probably get a tarp or something and cover them if I really had to. So, getting these out, let's see, what do we have here? Well, I have Chinese celery, and I'll be putting these just 4 to 1 square foot. By the way, the bed that I'm planting these in is a 5 by 8 square foot bed. All right, here I have pak choi or bok choy, depending on how you pronounce it. This is ready to go out. I have 8 of these. I'm also planting this 4 to a square and kind of putting them around the edges, I believe. I think that's what I have. I don't have my paper written out here, but I'll set everything kind of where it's gonna go before I actually dig them in to make sure I have it spaced properly. But yeah, this looks great. Some of the leaves are starting to yellow a little bit. It's just time for them to get out of these cells. They did do okay, so I think I'll probably use these small cells again next year because this did save me a lot of space and soil. So I'll probably do that again. So getting these planted. I have tatsoi, which is another Asian cabbage. This one doesn't look as good because I went out of town for about 5 days. I took my kids and my mom went as well. We went to visit some family. My husband stayed home because he needed to work, and he turned the lights on and everything for me, but he did not water them. So I have a few plants that did not make it. A couple of these tatsoi did not make it, and some of them look a little dried. But let's see. Out of the 8, 1, 2, 5 are still alive. So I'll call that a win. I have lettuce that I'm going to be planting out. This row is Grand Rapids and this row is Paris Island. I have 6 of each, and I'm putting them, actually 5 of this one. I'm putting them all, like these 5 into 1 square, these 6 into 1 square. I'm not growing the lettuce for it to head up. Even the Paris Island will head if you let it, but I don't eat it like that. I just like to snip the leaves when I need them, so I always plant my lettuce very high intensity or high density. Okay, I have celery here. This is tall Utah celery. This most of it did not make it past the 5-day drought when I was out of town. Because these cells are so small, they do dry out quickly. And so I was having to water them every day or every other day. And I watered them before I left, but they did not make it. So I have only 3 left. And actually, I didn't thin this one, so technically 5 left, because these 2 actually have 2 plants that I didn't realize. So it's really small right now, but I'm going to go ahead and plant it out because it's nice out. And of course, this soil, it's better soil, obviously, than my soilless mixture. So get these guys out of here. Now, the ones that suffered the most from not being watered for those 5 days were my mustard greens, oddly enough. They almost all died. Y'all look at that. It is very sad. It's tragic. I came home and I was very upset, but I'll get over it because I knew I had some extra plants. So I have essentially 2 left. So I will plant these out here. And these were just seeds that had just barely germinated. For some reason, they just took forever to germinate, and then they finally germinated. That's the only reason I have plants left. But the mustard greens did not take drying out at all. So, and then let's see what else we have. Now, the plants that I knew would get bigger, I put in these bigger cells. Or they're not really cells, these bigger planters. These are about, I'm gonna say this is about 3 inches deep and then 2 inches square around. These are Georgia collards. I think I have 2 of these. So all of these require their own square. Curly kale, several of these. I think I have 8. well, these are supposedly the dwarf ones, so I'll put 2 of these per square. And then these take up an entire square because they get huge. I'll put up a picture of the one I grew last year, or the main one that I grew last year. And then lastly, I have this last tray. And these are also in larger squares. This one is in a 6-pack tray. This is one that I've had just, I want to say like last year or the year before. It had to be the year before because I didn't buy any nursery plants last year. But the year before, nursery thing that I reused. This is all dino kale or lacinato kale. Mine last year got super tall, so I'm excited to grow some more. I have 4 Savoy cabbage that I'm planting, so these will each get their own square. And then I also have, in this 6-pack, I have Michelini cabbage, red cabbage, and golden acre cabbage, 2 of each. So lots of variety in these greens. I cannot wait till they get even bigger. I mean, these seedlings look amazing. They've been outside for the past couple of days. Well, a few hours each day, but yesterday I actually left them out here all day and all night because the weather was just so mild. It got up to like 69 degrees, and overnight it only got down to like 45, so it was perfect. And today it's like 72, so it's a beautiful day to be out here gardening. So I'm gonna get these planted. I'll turn the camera so you guys can see, but first I'll just show you the bed and what I'm working with. So here is the bed that I'm planting in. Like I said before, it's a 5x8, so a 40 square foot bed. Now already in this bed, here in the corner, I have lavender. I grew this from seed last year and planted it out last spring. I have thyme over here. Actually, I'll just point. I have thyme right here. This plant is growing really well. I love thyme so much, so it's really fun. Here is garlic. I planted this back in October into this bed, and it's been growing really great. It's actually my first time growing garlic, and I just grew it from store-bought organic garlic, planted it in the ground, and it's been growing. It's a little, the ends are a little bit, you know, dried out looking, but that's just from the deep freezes that we've had when we've gotten down in the 20s. And here I also have some viroflace spinach. I planted this, and actually I had planted a few other plants in this bed from seed back in, I'm gonna say January, it might have even been December, but they did not survive the deep freeze. I don't know, I was just trying to take a chance and see. Yeah, that's an airplane, probably here. But I was just taking I'll just be quiet. I was just taking a chance to see if I could grow like fully year round, and it did not work out. Maybe if I had started the seeds inside and brought them out later on, they might have survived, but most of the plants just did not make it. But this spinach did. It's a little beaten up from the cold, but it's been doing okay. I saw a few aphids. It's a weed. Saw a few aphids in here, but I actually just yesterday when I was out here saw several ladybugs. So I think they are taking care of that for me, which is nice. And the spinach itself is really good. I'm probably going to trim it and kind of get rid of the ugly stuff so that it can grow back fresh and I can continue to use it. So I've covered this bed in a fresh layer of compost, probably just about 1 to 2 inches. The soil here I think was already pretty good. After I pulled up most of the, you know, the brassicas and stuff that I grew in this bed last year, I actually planted some southern peas, some field peas, which are of course just like green beans, etc. They're great at adding nitrogen back to the soil, and so hopefully those were helpful there. And when I planted those other, and I also had wood chips covering this bed, and I would say they were about 50% broken down. So the squares where they were pretty much broken down, I just covered them with the compost, and the squares where they weren't, I just slid them over, put the compost underneath the wood chips, and so I know that that has helped to build the soil as well. So I think just covering it with, you know, an inch or so of compost will probably be good enough for this soil to be ready to go. Next year I'll probably grow something else that isn't as nitrogen hungry in this bed. And now is the garbage truck. I guess all the sounds are going to happen in this video. Alright, time to get planted. So the first step is I'm just gonna walk around and kind of put the plants where I think they could go based on how big they're gonna get. This pointing that way, that's the south side of the garden, so I know the sun will be coming in this way, but it stays pretty high in the sky and they get shade from the fence. The backyard fence is this way, so it's on the east side, so they get some morning shade, but there isn't really anything blocking on the west side. So essentially once they get past that fence, once we're, you know, about 10 or 11 a.m., they're getting, this whole bed will be getting full sun. So the things that are going to grow really tall, I'm going to put them on the east and western sides of the bed so that I don't have anything going here on this south side to be shading. And I would say on the north side of the bed, but most of the squares on the north side are taken up, so that's not really going to work. Okay, so everything is planted, and I'll show you guys that in just a minute. But first off, I want to show you what I'm about to do next. This is the fertilizer I'm going to use. This is a granular fertilizer. It's a 927 organic, and I like to use the granular ones as much as possible. I do use some water solubles in certain cases, but I like the granular slow release ones just because it means I have to fertilize less frequently, which is less work, which is yay. So I sprinkle this on. I could have sprinkled it into the soil before I planted and mixed it in, but I like to put the plants first and then sprinkle this onto the soil, and then I can just mix it in with my little hand rake into the first 1 to 3 inches. And then I'm gonna water everything in. This I only have to use every 4 to 6 weeks. So that I like, because then I don't have to really worry about feeding it. I used this same stuff last year and it worked great. So I am continuing this for my high nitrogen feeding plants. Okay, and that's it. So all of the cool weather plants are planted. Now I will be adding a layer of mulch to this bed, but I probably won't get to it today because I have some other things I want to do out in the yard while I still have daylight. But if I get to it before I edit and publish this video, then I will add a photo of the finished look. But you just saw what it looks like. Everything is watered, thoroughly fertilized, planted. So I'm expecting some great results. Thanks again for sticking around to the end of this video. Please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and the bell notification so that you'll be notified every time I post a new video, and it helps this video get out to more gardeners. Thank you. Have a great one. Bye.